Recently, a vintage photograph of Britain's Prince John, who has been called lost, was put up for auction. This portrait, taken in 1909, reminds the world of one tragic episode in the history of the royal family. The unfortunate boy who was given so few years and so much grief. Why did the young prince leave this world so early, and why was he kept from the people? The sixth son of George V and Queen Mary, Prince John, was epileptic. At that time, no one doubted that a healthy spirit can only be in a healthy body, so the sick prince was carefully hidden from the public, believing that if they knew about his condition, they would think that the whole monarchical family is something wrong. The boy died at the age of just 13. Prince John was born at York Cottage on the Sandringham estate on July 12, 1905. The newborn was the youngest child in the family of George, Prince of Wales, to his wife Mary. Much of his early life was spent at Sandringham Manor with his siblings, Prince Albert, Bertie, later George VI, Princess Mary, Prince Henry and Prince George. The children were taught discipline and order. The Prince and Princess of Wales were close to the children, constantly visiting them. Prince John was the youngest and favorite child in the family. However, everything changed when naughty Johnny began to stand out too much against the background of his brothers and sister, who behaved impeccably. The child often talked to himself, invented some fabulous worlds, and plunged into them at the first opportunity, kissed his mother's hand in public, despite the prohibitions. After his 4th birthday, John began to get sick often. That same year he had his first epileptic seizure. He began showing signs of what experts now call a form of autism, as he couldn't master the subjects his brothers were taught. He just doesn't understand what he needs. One servant wrote. The prince's kin hoped John's affliction would pass and he would reach adulthood, as it did for Queen Victoria's youngest son, Leopold, who also suffered epileptic seizures but lived to be 30. John's father at the time was the Prince of Wales and direct heir to the ruling monarch of the United Kingdom, King Edward VII. In 1910, the Prince of Wales inherited the throne upon the death of Edward VII, making John fifth in line of succession to the British throne. When his father became king, John did not attend the coronation because of his health, but the young prince would still be considered a full member of the family, making frequent public appearances until he turned 11. During his time at Sandringham, John continued to experience health problems. In 1912, Prince George, the brother closest to John in age, enrolled at St. Peter's Court Preparatory School in Broadstairs. The following summer it became known that John would not be attending. During the First World War, John saw his parents less frequently as they were often away on official business. His siblings were either at boarding school or serving in the army. John gradually began to fade from public view, and no official portraits of him were commissioned after 1913. But despite his health problems, John was not excluded from the line of succession. In 1916, John's seizures became more frequent and severe. He was sent to live with his governess Charlotte Beale at Wood Farm, a farmhouse secluded in a corner of the Sandringham estate. The last of his mentors had been dismissed and his education was technically over. Doctors warned that he would probably not live to adulthood. John's seizures continued to intensify. Charlotte Beale wrote, "We have dared not let him be with his brothers and sister because it upsets them so much when the seizures become so severe and occur so often." He spent Christmas 1918 with his family at Sandringham and was taken back to Wood Farm the same evening. On January 18, 1919, at the age of 13, John died of a severe epileptic seizure in his sleep. Queen Mary recorded in her diary of his death, "A great shock, though to the troubled soul of the poor little boy death was a great relief." She broke the news to George, and they went by car to Wood Farm. They saw that his nanny, Charlotte, was humbled but grief-stricken. Little Johnny looked very peaceful lying there. On January 20th, the Daily Mirror wrote about John's passing, and the article was the first public mention of his epilepsy. His funeral was held the next day at St. Mary Magdalene's Church in Sandringham, and he was buried in the cemetery at the church.